Assalamu alaikum, Jamian. Hello, everyone. So thank you for having me. Hopefully, we will have a very good session. So we will be talking about combination of threat intelligence, brand monitoring, and fraud prevention, combining it with 0 days, red teaming, application security testing, and more. The whole idea will be to understand how we monitor threats of all types. First thing about me, so I'm the director of Resecurity. I'm also a hacker. I was ranked by the US Department of Defense as the top world hacker in 2019. And we also supported a lot of government intelligences, military, and a lot of sectors in discovering vulnerabilities. So to start, we will be talking about the threat landscape. Now, we understand that there are a lot of things happening in the world, from attacking the hardware level, the software level, application, network, people, and more. And the problem is, sophisticated attacks are going on. So it's no longer basic. It's combining AI, it's combining automation, and manipulating the human mentality and mindset to exploit things within the network as well. The problem happening is where a lot of data is going from the inside to the outside, and breaches, infections, compromises, leaks is happening on the internet. So the concept of threat intelligence help us understand anything that is happening outside our environment, outside our network, which we are technically not aware of. Because I know everyone has firewall, EDR, all these products implemented internally, but still you will get missed for things that may go outside, which you're probably not gonna know about at all. So we use mixed approach of intelligence gathering from cyber, human intel, signal intel, and more to understand and acquire any potential information. Summarizing it, we're kind of as an Overwatch program. So, and we map threat risk based on understanding whether you are being targeted and whether you have a material breach. So this is our portfolio from product services, what we do. So we focus heavily on the threat intelligence as a product, we focus on the brand monitoring as a product, and we focus on fraud prevention as a product. Then we have the hunting unit, the human intelligence operational unit that goes on the dark web, do further investigation, threat hunting, and offensive operation to acquire data and to investigate threat actors. And then we do combination of forensics, investigation, and vulnerability testing to understand the incidents, the root cause of issues, and so on. So this is how we aggregate everything, mainly in a fusion center, and we collect billions of artifacts to understand what exactly is going on. And our team speaks over 40 different languages, including the slangs, because we want to understand the attack types, vectors, people behind it, and more. So, summarizing it in a platform, everything is monitored outside the network from dark web, deep web, social media, open source, and more. And you will realize that even the source has multiple data points and subsources. For example, if we look at dark web, we see that we have over than 343 million entries to the dark web, and so on. So, speaking also deeply about the brand monitoring, it's all about understanding everything above your network, monitoring not only your brand, but your surrounding, your employees, your third party, your supply chain, your contractors, and more as well. So ability to have this ultimate monitoring layer where you're able to look into anyone who is interacting within your brand and your surrounding. The third thing is the fraud prevention, which should be both intelligence gathering, collection, and also a technology that is monitoring user behavior and acquire signatures and understanding the fraud threat landscape and preventing fraud from technically happening. So that being said, we summarize our intelligence gathering by monitoring the threat actors and the sources of incidents, and monitoring the categories from finance, counterterrorism, nation-state actors, and so on, monitoring marketplaces, sources, and more. So we will be talking now about data layers in intelligence operations, how we gather data, how we collect intelligence. So first, we need to understand the internet layers. We know that there are 3 layers on the internet: surface web, deep web, and dark web. Our role is to be closer to the deep web, dark web, because surface web, everyone can look into, everyone can get, while dark web is the hidden source area where you need qualified people, human intel, to be able to look into deeply and develop relationships. And we categorize dark web into all these layers where we focus on P2P, which is peer-to-peer communication, and vetted forums where you cannot access unless you get invited. So you technically need to be sound like a hacker in order to be able to go inside that marketplace or criminal environment and be able to retrieve qualified intel before hackers sell it or leak it. So trying to understand or acquire precursor of a breach or incident before it technically happens. Like zero-day selling, for example, they sell it to you before they announce it to the market, so you have leverage. And we utilize this intelligence gathering life cycle where we do offensive operation by developing chain of asset and doing upstream access and actively engage with threat actors and acquire data, because this is important from the human intelligence perspective and so on. So how we do it, simply we monitor people versus technology. It's important to monitor the people behind the attacks, behind the incidents. So we're monitoring over 40, 50 million threat actors globally, including their profiles, techniques, attitudes, and more. And when you monitor people, you understand their concept, their behavior, their way of thinking, and be able to understand their next moves. So, and by that, you reduce noise, you remove false positive. Now we talk about hunting zero days, vulnerabilities, and so on. So you will realize that we're trying to identify incidents from various vectors, from vulnerabilities, from threat intelligence, from brand protection, fraud prevention, incidents, and more, forensics. So from all vectors in order to understand exactly what the issue is. So we do a lot of research and development in vulnerability testing, zero-day discovery, and more. Examples of what is done is not just cyber, or let's say it's not just over the internet. It can be intranet, it can be OT, and more. For example, such as gas stations, submarine controls, such as industrial automation, and power grids, and HVAC controllers, as well as medical X-rays and refrigeration units. And we have a lot of projects where we're able to control temperatures, basically. So it can lead to important and sensitive actions. So it's important to corner threats of all vectors and attack layers. And more, like Tesla power packs, the full infrastructure compromise where you can control everything, and so on. Now, this was active. When we look at the passive way of collecting zero days and vulnerabilities, we're using our context, the threat intelligence. We realize that we're able to monitor all the sources across the internet, including mainly dark web, and understand what is going out there. That, hey, tell me if someone is selling a zero-day for a specific vendor. And for example, here we identify a zero-day being sold, and we're able to get very specific information about it, from how much is being sold, what are the exact vendors or products, exact details about the incident or the zero-day, and more information. And through AI, machine learning, and more, we're able to generate very quick reports. Not only this, but also profiling the full details of the threat actor or the broker that is selling the zero-day to end up understanding who exactly is, or where exactly he is, or the actual users behind him. So profiling threat actor from his known aliases to the profiles, to the contacts, to the saved history, historical records, IOCs, TTPs, geolocation, which is the most important part as well. So that is for the zero-day. Now, when we want to talk about how we disrupt criminal operations over the dark web. So remember, before we saw passive collection of intelligence and active engagement by us understanding and identifying vulnerabilities. Now, we can also do attacking of criminal environments and criminal communities. Let's say, for example, for this case, there is a ransomware group called the Black Lock ransomware. And we were able to hack this ransomware group, and we were able to shut down their Tor network completely from operation. So BlackLock ransomware attacked one of our customers, and we did some research in their Tor network. We identified the vulnerability, a local file inclusion vulnerability that allowed us to dump files from their server. For example, we dumped etc/host/passwd, we dumped other information and more. And part of the things we dumped, after analysis and detailed investigation, we identified the email addresses of the threat actors involved in this ransomware group. Then we were able to access their cloud where they host data, and we were able to get access to all the victims, the existing victims and the future victims. So imagine we were able to help a lot of companies retrieve the encrypted files, but because we hacked the ransomware group without them paying for the ransom. So examples of the logging ins of their cloud from the threat actor perspective and more. So that is example of offensive operation. So you're technically are hacking the hackers. And the other thing we want to talk about is the actual dark web monitoring with the threat hunting and in-depth investigation based on the platform. So you have our context, the threat intel, threat hunting platform, as a workbench to do forward hunting, investigation, analysis, and utilize it for your analyst, for your team, to go there without the need to go to an actual Tor browser, for example. So utilize it as a tool for you, a threat hunting tool. For example, here we tell the platform, hey, tell us anything mentioned on the dark web that having the keyword Saudi Arabia, and we can see everything. And we can look in depth. For example, this is illegal trafficking happening on dark web for vehicles. This, for example, can be a threat to the national security because they can use it in explosions and more. So we're monitoring illegal trafficking, and we acquired the Bitcoin address, we acquired the email of the broker that is selling this. Botnet intelligence is one of the most important things. You're technically able to monitor every single computer that is compromised. So here we see thousands of computers infected, and we're able to look into their details from the exact date of infection till the date they sold the access, and the credentials leaked behind it, the actual information about the machine, and the files that the hackers were able to extract from cookies, keyloggers, screenshots, and more. And this is, for example, a screenshot of the infected computer, and this is another machine as well. You can filter by a lot of different devices, machines, equipments, and more. And this is one of the examples of a compromised machine where we're able to extract everything related to the device that hackers obtain, including where the malware is installed. So you're technically fixing the problem, not just detecting it. And this is important. So the base is to understand the root cause of the issue and how to address it properly. So another examples as well, some examples of detecting some national security issues across the dark web, and acquisition of data because of vulnerabilities that could be fall into the wrong hands. And this is how to weaponize AI. Imagine if you have a platform where you can just command the platform that, hey, tell me information about any person that is compromised, and having, for example, his credit card, email, phone number, or extract them for me. So here I just put a person name, and I told them, hey, tell me if there is anything leaked about this person. And through our AI, it will map everything in our data and in our Fusion Center and get us everything. So here we see a full name, we see, I think, email, and also phone number, as well as the credit card. So we will talk a little bit about the fraud intelligence, because it's important to understand why fraud intelligence is needed to be separated from the threat intelligence, because simply it is based on some fees, but also related just purely to the fraud sector. So we have combination of intelligence data that can be fully integrated with the banks. So for example, compromised credentials that are tied to the payment gateways and the login portals of the banks, to the security incidents that are happening in the financial sector specifically, to the threat actors specifically the fraudsters that are defrauding customers and consumers through their own communities, channels, and so on, to the leaked credit cards, to the botnet intelligence, actually infected computers tied to the banking signatures, to the passive DNS, where we have fraud domains, phishing domains that hackers are utilizing, to the IP reputation, where we detect the fraudulent IP addresses. So when you have this, then you go through human intelligence and identify mule accounts, actual accounts utilized by fraudsters inside banks. You're able technically to map very qualified, purified anti-fraud and map it with a fraud prevention analytics and so on. So we do heavily work in the tracking fraud, in money laundering, and these activities, even with crypto, where we can track crypto addresses and so on. So this is one of the also active engagement offensive operation where we were able to disrupt a complete investment scam network and identify the emails of the threat actors and then map it to the banks where they store the money and then hold it for them. So summarizing everything, from everything we talked about, from threat intel, brand monitoring, and fraud prevention, we're actually not just a threat intel company, but also as a data company. We aggregate data from everywhere. So that data that is aggregated to a fusion center, we're able to ingest it anywhere we want. So you see us on the left side, we have everything from a data perspective, and in the middle, we can integrate with everything. So whatever you want from TIP, SIM, SOAR, vulnerability management tool, firewall, EDR, whatever, all can be integrated with a format that you choose, because in the end, it's easy. You have the data, which is the most important valuable, and then it's easy to direct it and route it to whatever you want. So summarizing everything as a use case, so we monitor everything related to threats above your network, outside your environment. These are the blind spots where your firewall cannot look into, your EDR cannot detect. So we are your extension arm, your Overwatch program to look across all the dark zone areas, involve our offensive operators, and be able to develop relation offensively, actually compromise some infected groups and so on, especially for governmental needs and so on, and be able to understand the threat, identify precursive breach incident before it actually happens, hit you, and so on. So by that, you're actually not only protecting the brand, you're also protecting the surrounding, you're protecting the identity, the executive, the individuals, and also protecting anything related to the asset that you're monitoring, and preventing a lot of categories from data breaches, botnets, compromised computers, and fraud, and more relevant threats as well. So thank you. We have a booth in Resecurity in stand 1. Feel free to come by, ask us anything you want. Thank you.